The movie says it all, it sums it up all. The Polygamist. I think most of us have watched it by now, and I think
No, I've not watched
instead of I think we also as men need to be accountable. It is only in broken men that you find other broken men. Jonasi, at the end of the day, he came from a father who was a drunkard. He came from a dysfunctional fatherhood. That's why he ended up becoming like that. And that's why at the end of the scene, you see the son became exactly like his father. Same thing hasn't gone away. Men are polygamists. Naturally, men are polygamists. It's just you as a man to choose your tea. A study was done in our prisons, which was, they found 70% of the men incarcerated today came from fatherless homes.
Do you mean a child brought up by the mother alone? There are aspects of manhood that he'll miss.
Very true. For lack of other words, I do appreciate the single mothers. I do appreciate all the women who stood up for their sons.
Yeah.
But there's a way that a man is supposed to be nurtured, and it's only another man who can bring out another man in the society. Since we are coming from celebrating men and their mental health awareness, I think it's time that I should commend men who stayed. For lack of other words, men are becoming smaller, weaker, and dumber over time.
We live in a world that demands everything from a man, but gives him nowhere to put his weight. From the moment we are so young, we are handed a script that says, provide, perform, protect, and above all, stay silent. If you try to complain of the things you are facing as a man at a young age, you are told, we ni mwanaume, behave kao mwanaume. And as we grow up in this environment, we tend to build walls. We hide our anxieties behind financial greeds, our loneliness behind a side hustle, and our deepest fear behind a confident smile. Now, today, I'm joined by Eliud. We are going to have a raw, completely unfiltered conversation on the things that we as men have been mentored not to speak about, and what that does literally to the mindset of a young man when he is growing up. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Eliud, and this is a Classified Africa podcast. My name is Movali Derek. Eliud, how have you been?
I've been very well. Thank you for inviting me to your podcast. I've seen what you've been doing generally over time, and it's a commendable work. You're doing good work for men and the society at large. They say if you need to change a society, it just takes that one person to spark the right conversation in the right ears, in the right rooms. And at the end of the day, we have sober conversations and the society becomes better at large.
Once I heard you say, we were having lunch, and you were saying that men don't learn to love or something in that perspective. It's something that does not sit well with some of the men. Maybe tell us your concept of men, love, and relationship between a man and a woman. Who learns to love the other, or who loves the other first?
Very true. And first of all, before we even get to dissecting and having the conversation regarding love, men, and who is supposed to love who, when, and where, I think since we are coming from celebrating men and their mental health awareness, I think it's time that I should commend men who stayed. At least at the times, we rarely talk about men who stay behind. When they are showing up less validated, they're showing up stressed, they're showing up regardless of their financial situations, and they're capable of actually staying with their families, continue loving their sons in their incapable states, continue loving their daughters in other times and wishful times. Just like the story goes, there is a story, or I'll give you a good analogy of the penguins, the ones who stay in the Arctic. Came to find out that when winter is coming, these birds, the females go away to look for food. They have just hatched their eggs. It is the work of the father to remain behind and balance the eggs in between the feet till the whole cold winter season is out. The mother goes away. it is the work of the father to remain with a specific egg and balance it through the cold winters. Winters go even to sub 60 degrees and the father still remains.
So if the father is the one keeping this egg warm throughout the winter, so is the father who made the egg hatch?
Sometimes I think it's how I think I'll go a bit scriptural, or I wouldn't want to get so much religious, but there's a way that we are created as human beings. There's a yin and yang. That's why we have the masculine traits of men, and that's why we have the feminine traits of women.
Okay.
You cannot mix the two, but they are supposed to cohabitate together. Okay?
Yeah.
I'm saying this so that we can wrap up the conversation, then later on, you'll be able to understand. So this is the role of a man in a relationship. So this is the role of a woman in a relationship. And remember, I'm saying this from a point of how I've experienced it to be, how I've seen my friends experiencing it to be, or maybe how we as young people also are experiencing things and how we are expected to carry ourselves as men as we are going forward to taking up more responsibility in the societal aspect and even in terms of our own growth. So as I was finishing up on my point on the penguins and how the females leave and the male remain behind, I think we should, in the daunting tasks or in the daunting environments that men are, or the penguins are, in the Arctics, North and South Pole, there are men who remain behind with the eggs when their mothers fell short in terms of maybe they never left the children well, but men still showed up. So I would want to commend men. Thank you for remaining behind, even in those trying times. And I know it's not easy, but we as men, I think we need also sometimes to have solace, and we should give men flowers when they deserve them, not only placing them the first time in their graveyards.
On the graveyards,
so thank you very much, men, for men who stayed behind and never shied away from their responsibilities.
As we talk of responsibility, I'm taking you back. Who should love the other? As per you, some believe that the lady should be the one to love the man, that a man will learn to love the lady as time goes by. But on the other side, there is someone who believes that the man loves, then the lady learns to love.
I'm going to say things sometimes people find it unsettling, but love itself is not a human conception. It is not the woman who developed love, or it's not the man who developed love. These are things that I think, to me, are spiritual as much as we think sometimes that they are not. Remember, marriage is not a human being experiment, for lack of other words. It is not a human being or group of psychologists who sat down one day and said, let us view the concept of marriage and let us make the man fall in love with a woman. No, it's not. So I think, for me, the one who is supposed to, according to scriptures, the one who is supposed to love a woman or love the other, it is the work of a man. That's why it's written, can you let your skin get charred? No, you cannot. So you take care of your skin. That's why you're showing love. So I actually brought it forward as saying that you cannot let your skin get charred or get it, in other words, iparare. You cannot let that happen. So it is the work of a man to love a woman, and it's the work of a woman to learn how to love that man.
Don't you think there is biasness there?
In terms of?
In terms of, if I love someone, what if this person never ends up learning to love me?
That's why there is a period called courtship. This is the period where you're supposed to be understanding your partner or understanding your significant other. That's why for men, if you tell them you love them, they will tell you, show me. For a woman, it's how you say it, it's how the things you do around her. That's why for you, it will make more sense in the morning when you wake up and finding your clothes ironed, finding your tea made, finding your shoes brushed, finding your clothes ironed. That's how a woman's supposed to. She's basically the home. She creates the environment for you to perform at your optimum or perform at your best capabilities each and every morning that you wake up to.
Okay. Now, I usually tend to try and understand the people sitting next to me, and I'd like to take you back to your early life, growing up. Basically, I usually tell people the best memory I have of myself and my father is the day my father bought me Bantas and we played one weekend.
With him?
Yes. Because basically, I grew up in a family of girls alone. I have 6 sisters.
Oh, yeah. The
So-
last one, yeah.
I'm not the last born per se.
Yeah.
There is someone behind me.
So basically, you're typically more or less the last one.
Okay, now, I am the firstborn
Okay.
and the lastborn.
The first male
Yes.
born.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I see how my father carries out himself through life. How has life been for you? How have you seen your father? What are some of the lessons you've picked from him growing up, seeing that these are how men handle themselves in your family that have made you become, maybe say that if I grow up, these are the things I'm going to pick from my father, and these are the things that I'm not going to pick.
So I think for me, I'm lucky to be a second born. Second borns tend to be the emotional part of the family,
Okay.
for lack of other words. I think psychology says that a family should be having at least 4 kids. Story for another day. So each and every kid plays a different role in terms of the whole family and the whole family dynamics.
Okay.
So maybe for me, I'm lucky to be one of the few men, I think, in the society, or the many in the society, that I could confidently say I do share an intimate relationship with my father. My father has shaped me in terms of, I know even if I were to make mistakes, I do have guidance from him. My childhood life was, I grew up as a normal child, just like any other. We don't have any differences. I think how we mature also and become men, we tend to disassociate from things that we saw our father doing, that we weren't right. Maybe he was violent maybe with your mom at some point. But over time, you're like, no, I don't like that character. You change. So for me, I picked up lessons from him, and one of the major lessons I picked up from him was I should never run away from my own mistakes or decisions that I choose to make as a man.
Okay.
I should always stay behind and live through the experience that I left through. As I sit here today, I have a heavy heart to see men becoming violent, and simply because they didn't share an intimate relationship with their father when they were growing up. A study was done in our prisons, which was, they found 70% of the men incarcerated today came from fatherless homes.
Do you mean a child brought up by the mother alone? There are aspects of manhood that he'll miss.
Very true. For lack of other words, I know I do appreciate the single mothers. I do appreciate all the women who stood up for their sons.
Yeah.
But there's a way that a man is supposed to be nurtured, and it's only another man who can bring out another man in the society. So if we don't share the intimacy as I did with my father growing up, we end up, it is not by chance, and I repeat, it is not by chance that they found the 70% of the incarcerated men in our prisons today came from fatherless homes. It is not by chance. And I dare say it is not by chance. Me growing up and seeing the various roles my father played and the various roles my mother played, there is something called Oedipus complex. It is a psychological term or study that was done by a scientist. And they found that the first love that you fall in love with as you was your mom.
Yeah.
That's why you find there's a good relationship you tend to share with your mother than your father. And same to your sisters. There is a good relationship they tend to have with their fathers than their mothers.
I think that explains the analogy that you are the child of your mother.
Very true. That's why sons also tend to become very, very protective of their mothers. Very, very protective. You cannot dare become violent to their mother as an external aggressor and settle well with their mothers. They cannot. Sons are very, very protective. So it all understands, like, if we understand where we are coming from as society and understanding men from where we are supposed to be coming from, I think we should be having better conversations of not just having adults who are grown up. We're just grown up babies. Some of us never healed from our childhood traumas. Maybe our fathers were aggressive. Maybe our mothers were aggressive. We saw maybe our mothers denying our father the love that he deserved. Maybe we saw our father becoming violent with our mothers. Where are these people going to? They're in the general society. Either end up in prison or having more broken marriages. Because broken marriages come from other broken homes. Maybe this child missed something along the way.
Yeah.
Then over time, we find that we are leading to divorces and having more broken marriages as at now than compared to before.
I came to realize something with our generation, that many young men are deeply terrified of being judged by their peers. That we tend to look at it this way, that the ultimate sin a man can commit that makes him lose respect in the eyes of other men is something that will make this man fear making a mistake in front of other men. Is that a weakness?
Depends with the caliber of men, or depends with your circle. That's why in other time we term it as boys club. Our definition of boys club is the same way our old men in the past used to go to and light a fire in the middle of their conversation and talk about their issues. That was their boys club then. Nowadays, as men, what do we term as our boys club? How influential or how constructive are your men in terms of where you go sit and have conversations, maybe over a cold drink as you're having and talking? What are we talking about as men? How strong our relationship as men? How intimate are we as men with ourselves regarding of the kind of social status or where we are coming from? How strong are we, or how intimate are we as men in terms of if I am to be vulnerable with my man, will he judge me for my mistakes, or will he encourage me to become a better man for the society, my family?
You see, when you talk of boys club, there is an NTV episode I watched of a lawyer who was in a very nice marriage.
True.
The marriage was everything he prayed for. But the moment he started hanging out with the boys club, they started telling him, hey, why are you doing this? Why are you going home so early?
Yeah.
Why are you treating your wife this way?
True.
And he goes on to say that at the end of it all, he lost the marriage.
Due to the influence of the boys.
Yes. And in one of a conversation I was having with a friend, she was telling me of how she can't allow the husband
to have other male friends. Terrible mistake. Terrible mistake. A man is not an island. And it was only men who, I once say this, men are emotionally attracted to themselves and physically attracted to women.
Yeah, men are visual beings.
Yeah. So we are physically attracted to women and emotionally attracted to ourselves.
Why would a parent, you remember when you were kids, some of your parents will tell you, don't go play FIFA with the boys. Stay home. Don't go play football. And to some parents, it makes literally sense to them that I'm trying to stop this boy from getting into a bad group.
Okay.
But now I tend to question myself and ask, what is the role of a young man hanging out with fellow boys? What does this do to the mental aspect of this man? Seeing that, okay, I spent a day with Eliud, I spent a day with Isaac, rather than me spending a day with Caro and Jerry and the stuff.
There was a study also done of found how men and women grow. Women played or engaged in communal activities. You find that their games are not as competitive as men. Us who play stick of death, very dangerous games.
Yeah.
We play very terrible soccer. If you get hurt, it's fine. Tomorrow you're going to be at the beach. If we play games which we used to play, they used to be very, very competitive and very physical. For women, they will play communal games. Chamama, chababa. They will bring the communal aspect of the society. That's how women are. That's why when war happens, women and children are sent away. It is not by design. It is how the differences we have between men and a woman. So back to the young man who is growing up, I think it is very, very special or you shouldn't deny a young man that right of having the pleasure or the gift of him playing with other men as they are coming up in the society. Because of this competitiveness and all these things that he's growing up with other men, he can only experience that with men.
Yeah.
Because if he goes to women and actually plays with the women, he will become more of Galish, for lack of other words. He will be missing this competitiveness that will make him develop or grow to be a man. That's why I said, even looking at how our hormones are, I am masculine, she's feminine.
Okay.
It is only in other masculine men that other masculine men will come in. If it is only in feminine women that other feminine women will come in.
The generations have changed, because I tend to look back in how the traditional African society people used to live, where a boy at a very young age, you're taught hunting. Like, if you're seen hanging out with girls, it's sort of a taboo.
True.
But now, in this generation, it's changed. Are we breeding weaker men?
I think, for lack of other words, men are becoming smaller, weaker, and dumber over time. We are not our immediate ages. That's the millennials. I don't think they are breeding men or they are coaching men to become more of men than less than women. A man over time has been beaten to become more feminine, and once he becomes feminine, we hate him for that. A woman has been elevated in the society and told acquire these masculine characteristics, they're going to make you more successful. And becoming successful means that you'll have to deal with a lot of male traits for you to become successful. You'll become less agreeable, you'll become more demanding, you'll become more masculine so that you can become this successful woman that the society has told you in terms of career. It is not by chance to me that the more a woman becomes successful, and I don't mean to become a chauvinist by that, but the more a woman becomes successful, the less are the chances for her to settle down with an average man. You'll find the women in the topmost careers, very few of them actually can be able to submit themselves and actually agree to a man to lead them.
But some of the women in those positions tend to say they meet men because there is a lady, she's a CEO, a very nice friend of mine. And she was telling me, Derek, I have a very huge challenge with the men.
True.
Because I'll meet a man, I'll sit there, wait for the man to give the direction. I want to be led.
True.
Because yes, I was empowered to become what I've become. But first, men fear me because of my status.
True.
It's the same way you will fear approaching a beautiful girl with the notion that she's already dating.
For me, I think I'm a different breed. For me, I don't think beauty scares me anymore.
For 90% of men.
I became confident because I think competence gives you confidence.
Yeah.
The more I understand more about myself, I think for me, it's easier for me nowadays to talk to women or approach women than how it was like 3 years ago. So nowadays I'm a bit confident. Beauty doesn't scare me anymore.
Now, for her, she argues that men tend to
get scared or intimidated by
her status.
Yeah.
So when she gets into a relationship, everything the man will be like asking her,
what do we do?
Yeah.
So the man is defaulting his leadership role to her.
Definitely.
And she will definitely take it up in arms because she's used to, at the work premises, men reporting to her. So she will want to bring the bossy vibes at home, and maybe, let's say, she's used to things getting done quickly, And by the time the man is becoming a little bit slower, she's like, what kind of a man do I have at home? So how we are, I think we are supposed to, as much as we are empowering the woman, and as much as we are nowadays, I think, taking up the roles, if the conversations, to me, I think, when we're empowering the girl child or the man, no, the girl child specifically, they should be sitting the same table with a man. It is not a competition between the two sexes. It should be a conversation with the two sexes. Tell us as women, what do we expect from men? Tell us as men, what do we expect from women, and vice versa. It shouldn't be a conversation of demonizing the other party. It is the same concept. You cannot demonize world and expect to have it. We cannot demonize each other and expect to have it at the end of the day. We need companion. We are human beings. Maybe some of us do not believe in marriages or do not believe in the whole concept of marriage as an institution, which is fine. We are supposed to respect each other's alternative. But at the same time, if we also accept that, why are they dating without any? That's why we have right now a very huge surge of baby mamas and baby daddies. So meaning these children are growing up in a vacancy. The father is a part-time dad, the mother is a part-time mom. So we'll be having a part-time society. That's why you find that at the end of the day, we'll have a lot of spiking crisis in cases of either find men are killing women simply because this woman never agreed to whatever he said. He never grew up like emotionally stable because at the end of the day, maybe the mom, when the father left, the mother was left in a bitter state. So because she cannot treat the father, what does she do? She will take the anger and the bitterness to these young men as they're coming up. So you'll end up having a bitter man in the society. You'll end up, I think, the movie says it all, sums it up all. The Polygamist. I think most of us have watched it by now, and I think instead of I think we also as men need to be accountable. It is only in broken men that you find other broken men. Jonasi, at the end of the day, he came from a father who was a drunkard. He came from a dysfunctional fatherhood. That's why he ended up becoming like that. And that's why at the end of the scene, you see the son became exactly like his father.
Do you mean 95% chances are you will end up like your father?
Yeah. Comfortably, I can say that. Because at the end of the day, that's why you find when you are in a teenage years, we tend to fight with our fathers a lot. We think that they don't make any sense. But the more we age, we're like, okay, so my mzee, my old man had some wisdom that I think at the time I couldn't be able to comprehend or understand. So at the end of the day, we'll end up going to him and asking him, Dad, with your wisdom, what do you think I should be doing here? So 99% of the time, if you grew up with a father who was healthy, you will end up being healthy. If you grow up with a father who was abusive, high chances are, if God forbid you end up like him, you'll end up like him.
We literally are growing in a hyper-competitive environment.
Very true.
How much of a young man's mental health stems from the silent panic that he might not be able to provide, he might not be able to accumulate wealth, or even build a legacy? There's a friend of mine. We schooled together. He works at Martha Karua's office. So we were having a conversation. And he shares with me of how those people we graduated together tend to see him, me and other people like, you are already employed. Yeah. So to some extent, the man feels like, am I lagging behind? Is the fact that we are in a competitive world making us have a lot of mental issues, or is it just that we as men should sit down and accept, here is where I am, how do I get out?
I'll go back to myself as a 15 or 16-year-old boy. I think at the time I was in high school. And I remember one time, I think I was just in the, because I'll say a lot of things to do with praying and fasting and things like that. Because we also like you don't have to subscribe to a religion for you to have a relationship with the maker up there. You decide your own path. So I think at the time, at the young age, for me, I once prayed for something called purpose. Because for me, I was like, I don't fit in some certain boxes. So I had to do it. I had to do a deliberate attempt on my life, that to accept and appreciate that my pace is not your pace. Your victory might be my any other day. My successes might take you 5 or 10 years from now to achieve. Your successes might take me maybe a year to achieve. Meaning the speed of which at which I'm moving with things is variable to what you can achieve or can do at any given time. Young men, as we are growing up, we tend to have, because of the competitive nature we had, remember when we were playing our games,
Yeah.
one of us had to lose, one of us had to win. And if either of us, we are not going to win or lose, at the end of the day, it was fists decided who carried the win of the day. That's when reason beats logic. We become physical. So we sometimes grow up very toxic traits that think everything is about competition. No, you take your own path. Have your own time. For me, at the time, I prayed for my purpose and reasoning. It took me a while for me to recognize or appreciate the gifts I had, and appreciate the fact that each and every of us has a different gift. And how your gift is working for you is not necessarily how my gift is working for me. Meaning yours might be faster, just a little bit faster.
Okay.
But I am also successful. Mine can take slower, but the moment I get it, I'm crushing it. That's why you cannot go to a musician's playground and expect to perform. You'll be crushed, you'll feel embarrassed because you're not playing in a field that you're used to. You're trying to become competitive as he is. Remember, at the end of the day, that is his gift, that is his calling. That is not your calling. Yeah. So at the end of the day, I think we need to also, man, appreciate the fact that we are supposed to understand our various gifts, our various purposes in life, so that I don't end up at the end of the day feeling have to compete with my friend. Because at them, they have a gift, it takes a different path. It takes a different set of discipline, takes a different set of mindset, which I might not be having in that field. That's why you cannot give a doctor's exam to an engineer's. The engineer will fail. If you give an engineer's exam to a doctor's field, he will fail, or he or she will fail. Because at the end of the day, it is not your calling. It is not your calling. So as young people, as much as we are getting depressed with our friends doing better than us, remember we are coming from also various different social backgrounds. Maybe for them they had more money than we did in our home. He has a better head starter.
Yeah.
For me, maybe I have to figure things from scratch. Meaning I'll have a slower pace. Do I have to compare myself to you?
No.
At the end of the day, I'll end up becoming a very miserable man in the society. And it will either end up into two things. Either I'll end up in jail or getting killed for my miserable mistakes I did.
Do you crave for validation?
It depends sometimes. Sometimes I think I've just done it so good that I think I need to be validated. But at the same time, it's a two-edged sword. It's a three sides to the coin.
How dangerous is it when you as a man, you anchor your entire self-worth in the approval of a woman or a praise of a crowd? Let me stop here for a minute. We are on the path to building the greatest of all times podcast from Africa. A podcast that helps you reshape how you think about money, self-growth, empowerment. If you believe in what we are doing and want to be part of this journey, take a minute of your time, recheck if you have hit the subscribe button. If you have not yet subscribed, kindly subscribe to this channel. Enjoy the rest of your being.
That will be the quickest way to your graveyard. Because minus whatever you're doing in terms of success, for me, I do take something called delayed gratification. The moment I started going to the gym a while back, I could barely lift weights, the ones I'm lifting right now. There wasn't any crowd at the time. It was me to figure out how I'm going to marshal my strength from up inside out for me to be able to lift such weights that the ones I'm lifting today. So I think pegging your successes or pegging your little efforts to a crowd or a woman or your fellow men, because also we as men peg our satisfaction in terms of success to our fellow men. That if I did it, if I bought this moti or if I bought this vehicle before he did, then I think my boys club should applaud me for my own successes and peg it to their validating me so that I can be able to feel successful. That's why the first thing we are supposed to avoid also as men is when we are getting money, we buy off poverty so that we can seek validation. That's why we end up buying things so that we basically buy off poverty so that our people, my boys, my society, can know I have money.
I think when it comes to you as a man, this is something I've learned from my father. My father bought a car at the time when
there were no vehicles or there were little to learn in the society.
But now, he didn't buy the vehicle because he needed the vehicle.
He bought it for the status that it came with.
Yeah. Now, I usually say, if, like right now, as Derek, I feel I need a car.
True.
Why? If I get a guest who is outside town, instead of calling a Bolt, I just hop in my car with my videographer, we go.
True.
There is someone who right now feels like, I need a house.
True.
So the 3 million I will spend in a car, someone else will spend the 3 million in an apartment.
True.
So I usually feel like, as a man, if we are friends, if I bought a car, you don't need to buy a car to fit in the circle.
True. Very true.
So if Derek has bought a car, what are my needs? And that is why I feel like we were not mentored up well. I remember we were having conversation with a lady and she was telling me, do you know what happens in the Chamas? Do you know why women succeed more through Chamas? Okay, are you in a Chama?
No, I'm not in a Chama right now.
Why do women's Chama succeed more than the men's?
I haven't done more study in it, so I have little to no information to it. You'll have to forgive my ignorance when it comes to...
But you go do a research on that. Women tend to share a lot in the Chamas. So they'll be in a Chama, a lady will share, like they're very open on whatever they're going through.
True.
Then someone will tell you, see what, the money you have, instead of buying this, buy this. So you'll find a husband and a wife had conversed, they want to buy a car. Then a lady goes to the Chama on Friday, comes
with a different mindset.
And then on Sunday tells you, you know what, by the car we want to buy, let's not buy it, let's buy land.
True.
So I usually feel like, to some point, our competitive nature from childhood puts us in a scenario of suffering.
True.
How many boys have gotten themselves into Forex because their peers are trading and seem to make money?
Very true. There's the fear of FOMO.
Yeah.
Fear of missing out. Me as a man, I had to choose. I had friends, actually my best friend plays basketball. I don't play basketball. I did attend his trainings though. I was there to cheer him up. But at the back of my head was, this is not my sport. He's just my friend who's playing it and he's good at it. If I brought him to the gym, he did terribly. That is not his sport, but he came to see me do it. I have my friends who, one of them I think is in Italy right now. He's a very, very, very good when it comes to building up things. Same as me. So you'll find here, I have this other friend, when it comes to sporty things, he has a different sport from the one I'm playing. Me, it's bodybuilding. I have to go lift very heavy weights. I feel good about myself. For him, he has to be at the field. He has to be actively playing basketball. For me, on the other side, I have another friend who is not that physically active when it comes to sports or gymming or anything else. See? So for this one, we also have to find like a balance. I shouldn't be in some certain fields simply because my friend is in it. I could be having friends who, like, for example, the one in Italy right now, that we could be sharing together. I introduced him to bodybuilding. He ended up liking it. He's actually doing it. Nowadays, we almost are lifting the same weight. Same to other men. You could be finding friends or men who you're having more things in common, maybe in terms of the physicality and things like that. And other men who you be like, no, we don't fit at the end of the day in terms of how we are cohabitating in terms of the various spaces that we find ourselves in. But I think it's mostly important that we find men who can be able to mentor us or coach us, or we grow up as together as men without competing with each other. We should be complementing each other, not competing with each other.
Still in the aspect of competition, how do you handle a scenario of a relationship whereby money is everything, but you are not in a position to provide the money? Because I think this is a generation that is more of transactional dating than genuine dating. And men rarely speak of that, the financial exhaustion that comes with having to
provide for people, your family, your
actually even
your girlfriend,
the family. Here, the girlfriend.
Family, yeah.
You're trying to prove to this girl that you love her.
Yeah. So you do it by being materialistic, by giving her material stuff for you to be able to validate yourself.
Yeah.
And I think at the end of the day, I remember one time, I think it was a few weeks ago, it was a lady who was older than me. Don't question me for that. But she was older than me. We were just having a conversation and she told me, she asked me actually a question. Will you send a woman you like money? And I was like, depending with the basis of which the money is being asked for, then maybe. If I were in a position to do it, then why not? Then she ended up telling me, I think she was using it as a point of manipulating me at the end of the day to putting her in the same situation. And telling me, then why don't you send me money? I was like, why should I send you money? Simply because I'm talking to you? She was like, yes. Send me money for talking to me. So I have to pay the airtime I'm using to call you and send you money. She ended up giving me a bunch of stories on how I should be providing for her and giving her money wherever she feels like it, for me to prove that I do actually like her. But at the end of the day, I looked at her, I saw her age, saw the kind of lifestyle she's living. She's still in school. I looked at her, then I assessed the whole situation. That I'm like, I'm not going to kill myself. I'm not going to death because of a woman at any point of life.
How?
I won't use any material stuff for me to prove my love or prove my liking to a woman. I could provide if I wanted. I could provide if the circumstances allowed me to do it. But I will never put myself into debt for me to prove my worth to a woman who is also getting money for the parents, or she's being funded her lifestyle by the men in her life. So she's using me as a part of complementary aspect into whatever she's doing.
Apparently, I feel like we'll be having this conversation again. But now,
very true, very
as
true.
As we near to wrap up this, how do you heal from a brutal rejection, a broken relationship? Because whatever the society tells you, you know what? You have to man up.
True.
Buy a drink, something. Okay. And if it's about love, they'll tell you, find another one.
True.
But now let's talk about the emotional, because you said men are the one who love.
True.
The woman learns to love.
Very
so
true.
The man has loved, but the love didn't go through.
True.
So he is hurt. How does he move on from this?
First of all, I think I live by three things: mind, body, and soul.
Trifactor.
The three, for me, I believe, if I can be able to take care of the three, anything externally that is not of the three is not of me. I have to check my mind. all the time. What am I consuming? What am I consuming? What am I getting? What am I letting in my head? Physically, what am I feeding myself? Am I sleeping correctly? Am I strength training? Am I doing these things? Spiritually or soul, am I taking care of my soul? Am I reading the right books? Am I reading the right things? So that you'll find, even if she says no, it is fine. And I make peace with it. Many a times, men, we suffer from one thing when it comes to the women in our lives. We speak highly of ourselves, but at the end of the day, the woman will test the same thing. They call it shit test. Everything you say that you are, she will put it to test. That's why I tell men, kindly speak to as many women as you can.
Okay.
It is not about dating. You don't have to date all of them. Speak to them. Just have general conversations with them. Try and understand her. You cannot engage in something unless you understand it from the in-depth. True?
Do you know a lesson I've come to learn very recently?
Which is?
Never get emotionally attached.
Emotionally, now you're becoming emotionally avoidant.
No.
You will get emotionally attached.
Honestly, Eliud, if you meet a lady today,
true.
You see, I see very funny things among boys and men. You meet a lady today, 1 week later you are like, what are you doing?
We are suffering from one thing, and I forgot to mention it. We are suffering from one thing called, it is only her and nothing else but her. For her, she sees us from a point of we are many. She gets hit on, that's why she's beautiful. You went to her. Do you think you're the one who saw her? No, you're not.
And that's what I say, don't be emotionally attached.
And at the same time, if that's what I'm saying, you need to understand women for where they're coming from. She's an attractive lady. She will get hit on with other men. You're not the only one who saw her beauty. True or false?
True.
Are you going to fight other men for the sake of her? No, you're going to become a toxic man. That's why I said, work on yourself, work on the three things, and let things take place as they come. Don't be quick to come into fight with other men simply because of a woman. She will get hit on all the time. How many times are you as yourself? How many times do you have ladies hitting on you?
0.
Making sense?
Yeah.
But you, maybe one of the times, me, I've had the privilege, and I don't mean to sound a big-headed man. I've had the privilege of having both sides of the coin. I've hit on women, and they also hit on me.
I have experienced that.
Yeah. So,
but now it comes with this is now where it gets complicated. Mine happens in a scenario whereby people, like what women see me with, or where women see me, they tend to, a friend of mine was telling me they are attracted to the status and the class.
Very true.
Yeah, so
Polygamist. The women who went to Jonas at the end of the day, they were looking for one thing, power and status.
Yeah, so basically, I usually believe that as a man, you see, if you're in campus, if you're a young man, okay, Benny Hinn says the worst thing we were ever given is go to school by age 20, by age 25 you should be married and all that.
Have 1.5 kids and retire.
So for me, I usually say, as a man, sit down. If you find a lady, because there is a difference between a boy and a man, there is a difference between a girl and a woman. If you find a woman who is principled enough and you can build together, settle and focus. But if you just meet these cheeky girls who are there for money, for class, for status, play the game. Life is a game of cards. Play the cards.
The more the numbers, the better.
Yeah.
Now, we are breeding different men in the society, and I think what you're advocating for, you're saying we need to have more loose men in the society simply because of the game of numbers.
No, the thing is,
on my side, I think if you'll find women, because women to a man also is a sort of, it's a measure of success. Mm-hmm. That's why our old men in the past used to have
many
wives, because the many wives, the many children, the more successful you are. Same thing hasn't gone away. Men are polygamists. Naturally, men are polygamists. It's just you as a man to choose your tea. Pick your shoe according to the size of your leg.
Okay.
If you could be able to maintain all of them and they're all comfortable with it, well and good. All the blessing that may come to you. If you find one and you want to concentrate with one, let her know that I don't want to go the polygamy way or go and have other women around me. And you can agree to it if you want to, but at the same time, it's a game of duck if you are to tell your woman that you're going to have another woman. Sorry to say, she will end up leaving you outside. Story for another time, I believe.
Yeah. As we end this, like, when a man goes into his car, locks the door, turns off the engine, and just sits there in the dark for like 20 minutes before walking into his house, what is he processing that he can't share with the family?
It has happened to me severally that men generally have a state of nothingness. I could sit here for hours and just look at the ceiling. If you ask me what I'm thinking of, I'll tell you I'm thinking of nothing. I just want to be in that state of nothingness. This is where I recalibrate my head or recalibrate my thinking into now absorbing my day, absorbing how I am, and it's like an alone moment. I'm meditating on, could be nothing. Actually, I could be seated for hours and thinking of nothing. You will ask me, what are you thinking? I'll tell you nothing. But it bothers women, for lack of a better word, it bothers them that I could be sitting somewhere and looking at things and she will now start come and nagging because just that's her nature. That's how she's meant. She's not meant to be in a state where she's not defining things or understanding things. That's why she will come to your space. For me as a man, I think it's important for me to be allowed that grace of actually me being alone in that state and processing. Maybe I could be thinking of nothing. Maybe I could just be thinking of how this car smells like. And I don't need to explain it to anyone. And I don't need to be questioned. So I think the right shouldn't be denied of where I should just sit in my silence. At least that is all I could get. Sometimes when I could get home, I just don't want people to speak to me. Just don't say anything. Just allow me process my day. Then we'll talk later.
In a wrap-up of the Men's Mental Health Month, if you see where they want to construct the monument of Raila? If you were to put there a billboard with 5-word sentence that would save the mental health of a man, what would you write?
Fight if you can and live if you can't. I'm sure that's more than 5.
Yeah, it's 6, but it's okay. Fight if you can.
And live if you can't.
Wow. That marks the end of our today's conversation. We're going to have a lot of conversations around men's mental health. There are a lot of things we don't tell you people. You know, they usually say a man is very hard to read. There are so many things that we have said that we rarely speak in front of women. But we are going to have these conversations. My name is Mobali Derek. We have been having Eliud on the podcast. He'll be coming back because we need to talk about the boys club. We need to talk about the concept of love for a man. And we also need to talk about the role of money when it comes to your mental health. I'll see you on the next episode.